One day the day will come when that song gets annoying, but that is not today. Hello and welcome everybody to the Monday Night Asian Movie Talk Show live. I am the Arty Dans, and as always, I am joined by my fellow co-host, Bart. I also have a special guest, which is probably the main reason that quite a few of you will be joining in for the first time. So I would like to introduce to you both Wilco and our special guest, Eric, the Asian movie enthusiast. And why did you screen? Let me try that again. There we go. Welcome, Wilco. Welcome, Eric. Thank you for joining our show for the first time, Eric. I think we're going to have a great episode because we're going to be talking about something that you and I really like, which are Chinese action movies. And Wilco doesn't know too much about, but I forced him to watch during the last 2 weeks. But firstly, Wilco, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been fine. Working hard on our next movie, Ouija Japan. We're really ramping up for a release in October. So I think soon the trailer will drop officially. Mm-hmm. And then there will be a little video also made by you, right, Dan?
That is correct. That is correct. I'm working on something. Eric, thank you for joining us on a lovely, balmy, from what you told me beforehand, Monday night in your home city in America. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's going to be good.
I think it's going to be great. Now, one thing that we always like to start our episodes off, Eric, is we like to talk about what we watched during the last 2 weeks. And hopefully I gave you a heads up about about this segment. Otherwise, we're going to look a bit embarrassed. So I might start first. During the week, I watched Wish Dragon, the English version, and really enjoyed it. Although I wish I'd watched the Chinese version because Jackie Chan is the voice of the dragon. I watched the original Chinese version of Bunshin Saba, which I really loved. I think it was great. I then watched Big Octopus, which I have issues with, and I will save that for another day. But specifically, it was about the cuteness of the octopus and the sound it keeps making throughout the whole film. I got halfway through Gunpowder Milkshake before I turned it off. I don't know if either of you two have seen that.
I've heard not so good things about it.
They were correct.
That Irish actress, right?
I don't know who any of these people were, but I got halfway and thought, you're trying to be like John Wick, but not. And it just tuned out.
It's a female John Wick, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't matter, but it was the storyline. It didn't gel for me.
No, that lead actress is from Guardians of the Galaxy. She's the blue one. What's her name? I'm having a blank right now on all the names.
Yeah, everyone's looking at you now.
It's like the blue one.
There's a couple more films I watched.
The sister of Gamora. What's her name?
She is Anyway, I watched Escape from Shark, which I loved. The Djinn. Have you guys seen The Djinn? Fantastic American horror film. I really recommend it. Okay. Then I watched a terrible film called Midnight Hair. It's a Chinese horror film. It stars the beautiful Daniela Wang in possibly her ugliest role ever. And it was it's a complete write-off. Since you keep interrupting me, Wilco, what did you watch throughout the last 2 weeks?
I just wanted to, okay. Anyway, so 3 movies, not too many, because, doing stuff. But kind of related to Asian movies. First, I watched The Protege with Maggie Q. Nothing special action movie, but I was very surprised that Maggie Q looks really, really good with short hair. I had no idea. Her face is really complemented by short hair. And I never saw her with short hair before. So, of course, it's a Chinese thing. Older ladies tend to do that. She still looks good for her 42, something like that. But she could still do mid-30s. So that's
kind of like Bing Bing Lee. They're the same.
Oh, she's stunning.
They can, but she also has the advantage of a lot of smoothing VFX. But and also watched Snake Eyes, and I can make a whole episode about Snake Eyes, but let me do it very short, and that is disgrace to Japanese culture and an insult to social justice activists. That's the only thing I want to say. So
It's
maybe we have to
controversial.
put that on a list for another episode about Hollywood version of, the Hollywood version of Asian movies, and then tear them a new asshole. But basically, the last one I want to talk about is Stillwater. And Stillwater is a movie with Matt Damon, and I really love that movie. It hit home for me because Matt Damon plays a father character that really reminded me of my own dad on a mission for justice, and it hit home. I was very impressed by that movie. It's been a long time since I liked the movie like I liked Stillwater, and it still has a little bit of a connection with Asia in a way, although he went to France. It's about American going to France, but the whole not being able to speak with everyone is very recognizable for me. How what I experienced in Asia, in China and in Japan, the language, the whole cultural differences, not knowing how to communicate with people. And he is just an American, a very local, very rural, let's say, more trailer park-esque American, being thrusted in, or not thrusted, but he just goes to France to save his daughter, and basically nobody is helping him, nobody likes him, and he cannot communicate with anyone, and even his daughter doesn't like him. So it's against all odds. So
Wow.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So what about you, Eric?
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, I remember I always used to watch Surviving the Game with Ice-T and Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And both of those films were inspired or remakes of The Most Dangerous Game from 1932. So I had to finally watch that one, and it was a good flick. I liked that one. And then I watched a Cambodian action film called The Prey from 2018, which is also inspired from The Most Dangerous Game, and that one not so good. That was a little bit disappointing. It was from the director of a movie called Jailbreak from a couple years ago. That was pretty good, I thought, but this was a disappointment from him. I did a double feature of Van Damme movies. I did Kickboxer and Bloodsport.
Oh, yes, Bloodsport.
Yeah, Bloodsport.
Mr. Tanaka is very ill.
That one holds up. Yes. I did. I rewatched Time and Tide, the Choi Hark film. I really like that one. That's one with Nicholas J. And then I did the Jackie Chan, or I should call it the Sammo Hung triple feature, the Lucky Stars trilogy, which are kind of definitely comedy based with some action in it, but entertaining enough. And then, I did The Ref as well with Dennis Leary. That was a pretty good Christmas comedy where he takes control of somebody's house, but it's a dysfunctional family's house, and he takes them hostage. That was a pretty good flick, too.
Is that an older film?
Yeah, it was like mid-90s.
Okay. Yep.
Rewatched The Chaser, which is a fantastic Korean thriller. Right. And then I finished off the week with Zombie 2 and Zombie 3 to finish it off strong.
Good classics. I only hear good classics.
And the good thing is some of the films that you have mentioned that you've watched are going to come into play at the end of the episode, where for those who stick around to the end, we are going to have a special trailer reaction of a documentary that's coming out. But before we get into that, let me get the right banner up here. I'm on the wrong screen here.
And in the
I forgot to put this up, by the way.
I want to look at the chat, and I want to thank The Hobbit for reminding us of the name of the actress, which is Karen Gillan. But I still don't know who the name of the character was in Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's okay.
Maybe Glenn can look that up for us. I think he's around too.
Maybe if somebody could look that up. I forgot. It's so
right,
bad.
So let's go into Wolf Warrior. So I'm going to play the just a slideshow presentation on the side. And I want to start by asking Eric first, and then you, Wilco. Eric, did you like Wolf Warrior 1 and Wolf Warrior 2? Or which one did you like more?
Yeah, I rewatched both of them in the past week. The first one, I actually liked it a little bit more this time. I mean, obviously, it was disappointing going into it, knowing that Wu Jing and Scott Adkins were going to go toe to toe, and it didn't really come correct with the fights necessarily. You know, the final fight was pretty good, but it's not at the level that you would have hoped when these two guys came together. So that kind of distracted me a lot the first time I saw it. But watching it again recently, just kind of knowing what I was getting into, I thought the pacing was pretty good, and it entertained me enough to be a pass-grade film. But I like Wolf Warrior 2 a lot more, maybe because it's so ridiculous and action-packed. But yeah, some of the scenes in the second one, it's almost like a mix of cheesy, ridiculous, make-you-laugh moments with some actual fun action, legitimately fun action mixed in. And I really liked the Wu Jing dynamic there. So yeah, the second one was definitely superior for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits I want to talk about the action later.
Oh yeah.
Wilco, how did you find them?
Well, I am not a connoisseur of these type of Chinese action movies, or let's say the patriotic movies. I must say that Wolf Warrior 1 was fucking awesome. The first, because I haven't seen these movies at all. I know nothing about these. But when I saw the first movie, it won me over. I was in love with this first movie. This is the Chinese Rambo. And I think that it's like a classic. It has really the potential to be a classic movie in the line of Predator and the first Rambo, let's say. It's like, if I would be a small boy growing up in China right now, this Wolf Warrior would be my favorite movie, and I would use that as it would be my Predator, let's say, as a if I was a small Chinese boy growing up in 2015, because that's when it came out, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought it was really, really good, and I was surprised. I wasn't prepared that Scott Adkins was in it, and I was like, huh. And I thought there was a lot of cool stuff. Like, I thought the bad guy was pretty cool. That shot with the tank in his face, you know, at one point, that crazy. And in the first half, I didn't even think it was patriotic. I thought it was a cool action movie. But then halfway it kicked in. Then I was like, this is what they mean with patriotic, with the I fight for China. I mean, but then I watched the second one. I was like, the first one, I was psyched. Let's do the second one. And I was like, what the hell is this? It was like, I thought I was looking at a Bollywood movie. I mean, that guy transformed from Rambo into Chuck Norris. I mean, what's going on there? This dude was like, he was like as powerful as any Bollywood cop that can just out of nowhere for no reason has superpowers. He's like Captain America, but it's like he stopped a rocket with his bare hands. Like, what's going on here?
He used a mattress. To be fair,
yeah,
he used a mattress.
To be fair, he used like a bedspread or something. Like, yeah, but still, he stopped a rocket.
That is my favorite scene in the whole film.
What's going on? It's like, no, I'm sorry. I thought I felt very Bollywood to me. It was so exaggerated, and there was also, it was like they give Michael Bay shit. But I'm sorry, but this movie was so, that was like, like very, very little breathing room. It was like so nonstop action. Not as much as the movie we'll talk about later, but it had some story. But the thing is that, I'm sorry, I cannot say it's better, because I really loved the first movie. I guess for its simplicity, for it was more coherent, in my opinion, for what it tried to. And I guess the second one, if you really love that over the top thing, like him fighting on the water without, needing to breathe and all that stuff.
Yes.
If you go with the madness, I can understand that the second one is like Transformers. But the reason why I was so taken aback by it, when I saw it for the first time, maybe like Dan, I should have to watch it again and then be like, oh, I get it now. No, I should watch it with the expectation this is ridiculous and then just love it. But I came out from the first movie, which I thought was quite good. Let's say it's like going from, I don't know, it's literally going from the first movie's Predator, the second movie's Transformers. It's like you make that jump, and the jump was so big. Maybe if there was a movie in between that kind of ramped it up, and then, but it was just such a, it was like watching Doom 2, like this Bollywood movie. It's like all of a sudden it is so over the top, so fast, and I wasn't ready for it. Let's say it came out of nowhere, and Wilco,
I think it it does warrant a second viewing. I love the tank drift. I have never seen anyone drift a tank before, and that happens in this film. And every time I watch that scene, I realize why I love this film. Not only that, I love I can't say the guy's last name, but Oleg, the Russian, the one who goes, "You just killed Dr. Chen." That is just, if he is not Zangief from Street Fighter in movie form in the middle of an African country, I don't know who else is.
You think that the drifting tank, that was the thing? Oh, but the scene after that was normal. The fact that he somehow jumps his tank, gets shot by the other tank, that makes him turn the tank. So he uses the fact that he gets shot by the other tank in order to turn his own tank, because for some reason they cannot turn the tank, and then break the barrel by just throwing. That's normal.
But by the point that happens, you've seen a one shot. It's not a one shot, but it looks like a one shot of Wu Jing jumping off a tanker underwater, capsizing a boat and kicking the shit out of people underwater.
Yeah.
Like you said, without taking a breath. You've
That's
seen him catch a rocket with a mattress protector.
Yes, he did.
You've seen him rescue a doctor from a hospital coming in absolutely blind and smashing through the window.
Oh, yeah.
Then you've seen him drift a tank. By the time that happens, nothing is ridiculous.
One question, and this was puzzling me, and I thought it was super funny, but did I see this correctly or not? At one point, there is this heroic, that's why I think he's like Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal. The point that he has to get the doctor, he just goes into this car, crashes through the barrier, and then immediately goes to action. But when he does that, I see armed forces drive in. Did he just let the enemy in? Did he just crash through the barricade so that the freedom fighters could have an opening to go back in? Like, ooh, thanks, dude. Or were that the good guys? Were they part of the? Because he just crashes through a barricade, which is protected, just to go get that doctor, but it leaves it open, and then I see armed forces drive in. And it was like, did he just let the enemy in, or were that the good guys? Because it just looked really funny to me.
I think he only cared about rescuing Dr. Chen, who at that stage was already dead. So I don't think he cared too much. There was not much thinking in that film.
Were those other guys that came in, the armed guys, were those the freedom fighters, or were those the good guys? And then the good guys, they also didn't care. Like, oh, it's open now, let's go in. Like, they just went in.
Pretty sure they were all bad guys.
You guys were so pumped up by the action. It's like, yeah, go get the doctor, that you didn't notice that at all.
Do you both think it's patriotic enough?
What about you, Eric?
Patriotic enough. I don't know. A lot of those people died as well. I know the concept. I was reading a few articles. It would be like, actually, I have a few of the quotes right here, but like they, in terms of the propaganda, so to speak, this one is kind of like the, China will always be there for you type film. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I think there was a line, whoever offends China will be hunted down. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the Chinese doctor is the one who's researching and trying to get that cure. You know what I mean? And then you got, Wu Jing coming in and like saving the day. And then you have the Chinese military coming in. So you get that almost like, it's almost kind of like Rambo-esque in the sense of, if you look at Rambo 3, when you have the American going into a foreign country to do business and right the wrongs, that maybe that country isn't capable of doing themselves. You get some of that here, which was kind of interesting. But I think the patriotism angle was actually pretty, I think it was well enough executed, I would say. At the end of the movie, you got Wu Jing kind of doing his thing, saving the main people, going back. So I think it was sufficient. I think it was sufficient from a patriotic angle.
I laugh in that movie about a certain dialogue that involves the Chinese military not doing anything until they have the UN permission. And they really ram that down your throat. Like, we are not doing a single thing until the UN says we can. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if this was real life, and I don't want to get political on this channel, if this was real life, would that really be the case? And again,
not.
not for this channel. So let's not discuss.
Well,
let's discuss the movie.
Patriotic wise, I thought that the first half of the first movie was not patriotic at all. The film is also very personal. It's because they really target him because he was, the lead, because he was responsible for the death of the brother of the bad guy. So it was quite personal in that way.
Right.
It was the angle of the mercenaries and the Chinese army where it was more like the setting, let's say. But halfway through, then the patriotism kicked in. But I don't know if it was patriotism. It was China glorifying with the I fight for China, and the orchestral music comes up, and all of a sudden it's super feel good. It's like super cinematic. And it's like also, I think it was the line of the when also, by the way, everything goes to shit because one Chinese soldier died in the first movie. So you can say that the entire army was there to take revenge for this one fallen soldier. And that's also what they say. We should take back the honor that we lost. And then all of a sudden, the entire army is being mobilized in order to get these mercenaries. And it's also quite personal how then, the lead, Wu Jing, he just has to go through all these obstacles, run through mines in order to get the revenge for his fallen brother, let's say, but also to save his own ass, of course, with this very subtle little side plot that actually the bad guy has this virus that will kill Chinese. But, let's not focus on that too much. It's all about the personal journey of the lead, let's say. But the music and the fact that they have I fight for China patches on their uniforms, and also the fact that was the turning point of him winning. The fact that there was a close-up of the patch and he was reminded that he was fighting for China. Well, the bad guy says, you know what I fight for? I fight for cash or for money. I fight for money. What do you fight for, China? Well, I fight for money. And it was also a very funny line in that dialogue, and I thought it was very Chinese, and I've been through this a lot. Is that the lead is complaining when Atkins is saying something really cool to him? It's like, oh, you just fight for China, I fight for money, and blah blah blah. What are you doing? And then the lead's like, you don't even speak Chinese. But at the moment that he was about to get stabbed, the moment he was about to die, the guy rips off that badge from his shoulder, and is like, oh, this is what you do it for. And then you see him almost dead, looking at that badge. I fight for China. And then he's reminded, yes, this is for China. And then he breaks out of it in that last moment. Normally it's like a reminder of a loved one dying. Actually, in an American movie, we would see flashback of his friend dying and the little kid. But no, in this movie, it's China. China is the reason why I'm fighting. And then he gets his last strength and then kicks Atkins' ass and wins the day. So that, I would say, is the patriotic part. But why I don't think it's really patriotic, but more glorifying of China, in his opinion, just he loves China, is the fact that the army technology is all bullshit. It's not real. It's all fake CG. It's all high-tech stuff. It's sure, there is Chinese stuff. There is military stuff in there, but most of it, what they're showing, the whole intelligence part, is all CG. It's all holograms and all this exaggerated Mission Impossible type of tech that doesn't really exist.
So can I say something? Can I say something that maybe will upset the both of you about Wolf Warrior 1? I find Wu Jing's character to be too weak in the first one. And I don't actually think he comes across as that great a hero, because he constantly gets beaten up. He constantly gets berated. He barely wins at the end.
He sweats a lot in that movie.
Oh,
yeah.
That is also... The sweat is ridiculous. All that water is like... That's on my list of funny things. The first thing it says, the sweat. You're soaking wet. It's like, the sweat was ridiculous. It's like,
and did it need the love interest from Nan Yu in there? Like, she's
No.
a beautiful woman,
Yeah.
and no one's going to say no to Nan Yu. No one. But did that need that love interest there?
No. But there's also, you mentioned that I fight for money line. That's the capitalism angle. So I fight for money. The Westerner fights for money. And you also get like the teamwork speech during the beginning. The guy lectures Wu Jing. He's like, listen, we're the wolf warriors. A wolf individually can't take down a tiger, but a wolf in a pack are invincible. We don't need you showing off your individual skill, your individuality. And that's more of the China kind of communist type of ideal. So I did catch that.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. But besides that, did you also notice that the change between the first movie and the second movie is that in the second movie he did get the product placement from Motai, but in the first one he didn't. By the way, which was ridiculous because nobody can drink that stuff, which is like 50-60% that way, the way he did. When he tried to get him drunk, and he's just drinking like water. But in the first movie, it's clearly a white bottle with nothing on it. But then in the second movie, all those close-up shots of him drinking, clearly with the official brand facing the camera, and even a close-up in the store with the little boy sitting beside a big Motai poster, or what is it?
Now, I want to ask you both something about part 2, which it's probably one of the only bits that I have issue with in part 2. At the start, when Wu Jing and the other soldiers are at the village and they are trying to stop, they're giving the grieving mother back the message that the comrade had passed away. And then he's standing up for those villagers and he does the most awesome sidekick and the guy goes flying into a car windshield. But then he gets kicked out of the army. And I remember watching this going, no, he's right. Wu Jing did the right thing there. There is no way that soldier should be punished for what he did.
But that was the only time we saw the other guys from the first movie. I thought that was kind of disappointing. I didn't know what to expect from the first movie. So I thought he was actually a dick. He came there just pissed. All these local guys were, sure, they were assholes, but that's where the Chuck Norris kicked in. That's what, you talk shit, and then immediately they beat up everyone without questions asked.
I'm on Wu Jing's side on that one. I think he was well within his right to go to town because those police officers were just standing there, utterly useless. Which let's not talk about Chinese police officers, but he looks cool. Wu Jing, when he's dressed up in that army uniform, he looks awesome.
I thought it just did it for the story because that happens in both movies that he gets disgraced in the beginning. And the first time he shoots the guy, therefore he gets penalized, and that's why the other group picks him up. And then this time he goes to jail for basically beating up those guys.
Yeah. Didn't sit well with me. I didn't. That's the only bit I really didn't like.
One thing story-wise that I didn't understand.
That's funny, Eric. But out of everything, that's the only bit I didn't like.
All right.
Yeah.
But beside that, there was one story point that I thought was not clear, and then only halfway the movie, because he had that bullet around his neck, and he was there in Africa for a reason, to find the bullet. But I never made the connection that was his love interest being dead. That was but later in the movie it was explained. He said it later in the movie, but it was like in the beginning, the only thing we know is he went to jail and she made him sign what I can only assume is divorce papers, and that's it. There was no idea that she was dead. Only later when he was going like, I need to find this bullet. I like, the bullet for who? Who died? Maybe that I missed it or something.
No, you're right. It was choppily executed.
And then, and then later when he was talking to the beautiful nurse, then we noticed who died and what he was looking for and what his intentions were. But I missed it in the beginning. I was like, why is he looking for the bullet? Who died? Who's killed there? It's like, so I was confused about that point.
Eric, I remembered another bit that I thought was a bit of bullshit about Wolf Warrior 2. It cast your mind back to the scene where he's in the cave suffering from Lamala, or whatever the made-up disease is. All of a sudden, Selena Jade, the nurse, remembers that she's carrying the antibody with her. And
it was experimental.
Experimental. So she pulls out a syringe from God knows where, because I didn't see them pack any syringes. And then she takes a bit of her blood and puts it in Wu Jing. We assume this is what happens because it happens off camera. But Wu Jing wakes up with a carefully placed needle about a foot away from this poor little girl, just to tell the audience this is what happened. And he's miraculously better. Now, I don't know much about science, but that feels like a big mistake to me.
Probably.
I think it's more the time that should be a little longer with him to create the antibodies, or maybe she already had them. Who knows? Maybe that's how the science works, Dan. That's how science works in China.
Well, that was actually Africa where that science was working. But then he gets the
Chinese.
poison. He gets the poison off that plant, and he puts it on the tips, and they work instantly.
Yeah.
As soon as he hits those guys, within a second, they start convulsing.
Well, you know, it's probably a highly rare neurotoxin, you know, that
He's just luckily enough to have it right there when he needs it.
All right, so in the chat, very quickly, one of our guys is saying, by the way, quick thank you to The Hobbit, Nebula. That was the name I was looking for. The actress was playing in Guardians of the Galaxy. But from Ronghao 1988, as a Chinese, China feels for us like our mother, who wasn't treated well from the world back in the time. So the feeling for fighting for China is like fighting for mom. And that's why the feeling is strong. Well, that's what helped him at the end of the first movie.
And that's cool. Hey, we all grew up with American movies in the 80s and 90s where the American soldiers did the same thing. So I've got no problem with China doing the same thing.
No.
In fact, my problem is now America doesn't do that anymore. Sorry,
I know,
but they just don't. I don't like this whole thing of America just not wanting to embrace their nationalism like they used to. We love Top Gun because he fought. He flew for the US. He recruited so many people I'm assuming that's the antidote, that Air Force recruitment numbers exploded because of Top Gun. And I can only assume the same thing happened with Wolf Warrior 2 in China, is that you've had all these people wanting to be the world's best snipers.
Yeah.
I also don't think Wu Jing does enough sniping in part 2. I think it happens twice. He does. No, there's at the end he does. Yeah, not enough sniping. Really not enough.
So I want to go to the point of how the movie got made. And we talked a little bit about that before we started the show. But the first movie is clearly a low-budget movie. But it seems that he financed Wu Jing, who directed and written it, and also stars in it. By the way, he's not the only writer. There are more writers on there. And I noticed that one of the writers, and I had to go back to write it down because I saw it and was like, did I see that correctly? So when the movie was over, I went back to the beginning to see if I saw it correctly. But it's written by one guy called The Last Guardian. So that's an interesting name. Talk about an interesting name, and sees that the composer was called Dong Dong Dong. So those are just some funny names there. But point being is that the
maturity, Wilco.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Come on, Dong 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 or Dong Dong Dong.
Was it the same 3 characters though? Was it different characters?
No, I don't know. It was in English. It was Dong, the word Dong, and then his last name was Dong Dong. So it
puts the
Dong,
Chinese
Dong,
above
Dong.
it though.
My name is Dong. Dong Dong Dong. That's pretty cool, right? Anyway, so enough about the Dong. So the thing is
sorry, Eric.
That's fine.
So Wu Jing, who written, directed, stars, and you say he did the action too, Dan?
I don't think there's anything that Wu Jing didn't do. Wouldn't be surprised if he was next to the guys doing the computer effects too.
He basically financed the movie himself. He pulled a Kevin Smith to make the movie because he really tried to make the movie. He went everywhere to try to get it made, and everybody rejected him. People just told him, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. This is not what people want. So he had to sell his own stuff, like Kevin Smith did, sell his comic book collection just to make his first movie. So he started to sell his stuff, but this movie was low budget, but still a few million. So I'm wondering what he sold or what he had to sell, let's say. So he basically put it together himself, and then it made 800 million and broke the box office. So he's kind of a legend in China. And after that movie, he even was bigger than Jackie Chan at one point. And actually he still is with Wolf Warrior 2, because that is still the biggest box office movie to this point in China. And but I must say, him self-financing it and him so when he made his first movie, when he broke the box office, all of a sudden everybody that rejected him the first time came to him for Wolf Warrior 2 and were like, hey, can we invest in the second movie? And he said no. So he rejected all of them. He rejected all the guys that rejected him the first time.
Nice. Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. That's pretty sour. But I also think that maybe he said a few things to piss a few people off, because there are some things that I noticed. I found 2 articles that I think are very suspicious, because they really tried to take him down, because he got 2 copyright claims for the second movie. The first time was because he stole X-Men footage in the trailer, because there's a footage of rockets going through the sky, which Dan already noticed that was stock footage, you said?
I reckon it's PLA footage, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, in the trailer, when it first came out, that trailer had footage in taken straight from the X-Men The Last Stand movie. And that was in the trailer. So he got a copyright for that. But then they changed that, no biggie. But then he got another copyright that was about the name Wolf Warrior. For some reason, he was being told not to use the name anymore. And he couldn't use it. He couldn't make money with it. And he could do nothing with that name. And he was also not allowed to put the second movie in theater. So for some reason, he pissed someone off to get those type of, or he really stole shit that we don't know about. But then the last thing I think is the most suspicious, and then I'm going to let you comment on that. It seems that around that time, because this was 2015, this has direct correlation with the 2017 censorship, because in 2017, the second movie came out. And do you know what China, besides the whole no supernatural stuff and the no vicious killings and the no homosexuality, there were a few other things that all of a sudden were forbidden in the normal theater. And one was no patriotic movies.
Hey?
No patriotic movies that glorify Chinese military. And no movies that has foreign enemies. And then I'm like, that sounds very suspicious, because that's exactly what Wu Jing is making. Did he piss off the wrong people, that even the governmentally connected people are like, okay, well, he's becoming a little bit too powerful. He's making a little bit too much money and he's got a big mouth. Maybe we should take him down a bit. You cannot release your movie because of this. Boom. Government but yeah, the movie came out, or the law didn't go through, or he had his own connections. I don't know what happened there, but I thought that those were interesting behind the scenes stories, let's say, that they basically, it sounds to me that they try to take this guy down, because even the government has very specific laws all of a sudden of what is censored or what is not permitted. And it's exactly what he was making. Patriotic movies that glorify the Chinese military with foreign enemies. And that is exactly what was being pushed, that was no longer permitted to be shown in theater. That's insane.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I was utterly confused when I first read that, because in America, a halfway decent film makes a bunch of money and there's 15 sequels. So I was just assuming we would get Wolf Warrior 3 and Operation Red Sea Part 2, which we'll talk about, and I was stoked. Even in my reviews, I'm like, dude, if China keeps making movies like this, we're good to go, baby. And then all of a sudden Wolf Warrior 3 gets like canceled. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like what the heck's going on. I found an article here, and here's an article excerpt for you. It says, in addition to military topics, government officials are worried by content that could be perceived as excessively patriotic, which could unnerve foreign audiences and damage China's reputation abroad, according to industry executives. So Wolf Warrior 3 was announced in 2017, but canceled. And the government does not want films to make China appear aggressive, one informant said. So it's just so, I don't get it.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. It was after Wolf Warrior 2. That's the disconnect I had in my story. Yes,
and that put a kink in Dante Lam making a third Operation film. He couldn't do it then.
Oh, that makes sense then. Okay. And it also makes sense now why the 800 and Sacrifice are not super positive stories.
No, they're historical.
They are stories of adversity. Well, I just got this picture on this screen because I want to draw both of your attention to the movie that's in number 4, The Wandering Earth.
Okay.
And Wu Jing is in The Wandering Earth. And the same thing happened with Wolf Warrior, happened with Wandering Earth. They couldn't get enough funding for the movie because it was a science fiction movie and no one in China will watch sci-fi. So Wu Jing believed in the project so much that he put his own money in there. However, he refused to be the action hero, which is why he plays just the astronaut who eventually passes away. But again, he put his money where his mouth is, and now he has movies number 1 and number 4 on that list.
Okay, wow. You know, in my opinion, the fact that the whole censorship thing happened, maybe they just think that these movies are too successful in China, and these people that are not government all of a sudden have too much private money. Maybe they try to keep that down. Maybe because why would you have your most? Can you imagine Hollywood doing that? If all of a sudden they're so successful, and an American says, "No, you should stop making those profitable movies. We cannot have that in America." That's just crazy.
All right,
like
here's a few more excerpts if you want them.
Yeah, please.
China's top film regulator was merged, so they have the censorship board was merged with the ruling party's propaganda department in like 2017. So that led to several industry executives saying that there was a tightening in the restrictions in censorship. They say military topics are more sensitive, and the larger budget films receive greater scrutiny. So that's
well, maybe it is all the sci-fi stuff and the holograms. Maybe it was the military was more like, oh, we don't have that. We don't want to give the wrong idea, because then they will bring
the opposite,
weapons,
Wilco.
and our weapons are not big enough.
Or it's the opposite, that they actually have that and they don't want to let anyone know. Because as we look with the next movie was funded by the PLA. Operation Red Sea was made by the PLA. And
let's go to the next movie. That's a good bridge.
We can't do that yet. First, we have to wrap up and say Wolf Warrior 1 and 2. Eric, you go. What would you give him out of? Let's do something we've never done before. What would you give him out of 5?
Out of 5. Okay, so the first one I would give like a 3.5 out of 5. Good entertainment. The second one, I'd give like a 4.5. If I'm being honest. In terms of pure entertainment value. In terms of script writing, it's crap. But man, I could watch that movie, grab a few beers, and I could watch that a lot.
Mr. Wilco?
Okay, well, I have exactly the opposite of that. I'm very sorry, because like I said, I was won over by the first movie. Is it perfect? No. Therefore, I would want to give it a 5 out of 5, but then people were like, but that's not possible. So I will give it a 4.5. Because out of 5, come on, that's like a 9 out of 10. I will give it a 9 out of 10.
It's higher than Dolban.
I think it's really good. And I think it is a potential to be a classic. And, the flaws are what makes it, so special, in my opinion. And then the second movie is so Michael Bay. It's so Bollywood. It's so over the top that I'll give it a 3 for my first viewing. Because personally I missed a little story. And that's only for my personal point of view. So maybe if I watch it a second time, knowing there is none, I can enjoy it better. But now, as it stands, I give a 4.5 for the first one, and I give a 3 for the second one. Out of 5. That is still good.
Upset you both. 2.5 for the first one. There's too many technical flaws in it for me to enjoy it. And when I see really bad green screening and all the green feathering around someone, and I think that is so easy to fix. I mean, look at this behind me. I don't have any. And if I can do it on a $100 camera, they can do it on their budget. I thought Wu Jing was too weak. I don't like the fact that he didn't feel like the action hero that I wanted him to be. But part 2, I've just made a new video about part 2 called 5 Awesome Things About Wolf Warrior 2. I think it's an easy 4.5. It's insane, and it needs to be. Now, look, I'm going to give you the floor for a minute, and you're going to do our first sponsor reading.
Yeah. Pay some bills. So, sponsor reading. Hi. Tokyo Bay Films presents CultureSHOCK Japan. Shockingly digestible Japanese films introducing shocking Japanese subcultures, like available now in the US. Directed by Hirohito Takimoto and Kenta Osaka, Tokyo Homestay Massacre. 3 American late teens travel to Japan to escape a sad past and have some fun, but end up trapped in a house with a demented host family who plans to offer them to their gods in a sick ancient Japanese ritual. Watch it for free now on Tubi TV, or own it on Blu-ray and get it at Amazon or Walmart. And coming soon, directed by Masaya Kato, Ouija Japan. Karen, an American living in Japan, desperately wants to fit in and play the Japanese Ouija with her peers. Unwittingly disrespecting a local deity who sets her up to fight her newfound friends in a deadly game of battle royale. Get shocked by the subcultures of Japan. CultureSHOCK Japan from Tokyo Bay Films. Find the links in the link tree / Tokyo Bay Films, and you can find that in the description under this video. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And I've got a 5 awesome things about We Did Japan video coming soon as well to get everyone in the mood for that. Now, let's talk about the Operation films. And specifically Dante Lamb's Operation Mekong and Operation Red Sea. Now, I have to again apologize to poor Wilco when he was asking me, Dan, which movie should I watch? I said, mate, watch Red Sea. Don't worry about Mekong. And I've made the gravest of grave errors, which hopefully Eric will explain why it is a grave error. But let's start with Operation Red Sea, fellas. We'll have to start with Red Sea because Wilco hasn't seen Mekong. Eric, what did you think?
I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I think it. Well, first of all, I think the cast is good, and it's almost like one of those movies where it has so much action that it becomes exhausting. It's after I'm done watching the film, I feel exhausted, but I feel like it's kind of in a good way. I do like in terms of desert warfare, it's a pretty cool flick. You get like stronghold infiltrations, you get hostage rescues, tank battles, sniper duels. The sniper duels are pretty sweet with the villain kid character. That was pretty neat. Helicopter assaults, drone strikes, all kinds of stuff. I really liked it. In terms of characters, like the first half of the movie, it was kind of hard to like really distinguish them in terms of them not getting individual moments. But I think as the movie goes along, they end up breaking up and having like individual moments and goals, which kind of helps that out a little bit. And plus, I'm a huge fan of Lucia Zhang, who's been around for like 15 years now in the industry. She's been in a few good flicks, kind of like martial arts movies, and I thought she came off quite well in this. She was pretty tough. And obviously there's some serious violence in this flick, and I kind of appreciated it because it gets pretty harrowing, which we'll talk about. But in this you could feel the budget in this one too. It's a lot of support from the military. You could tell in this film, and I don't know. I just find it to be really just kind of a thrilling, just balls to the wall, Desert Storm style action flick. I liked it.
Wilco?
Well, personally, my opinion on this is kind of twofold. On one end, personally, I don't like these type of films, which are strategic military movies like Black Hawk Down, and although Saving Private Ryan is a big movie, no, that's a bad example.
Say anything bad about it.
No, Saving Private Ryan is a good movie, but it's like, but it's a good story movie also because it's a Spielberg movie, but. No, I mean those like Black Hawk Down type of movies, and you have a lot of these military strategic movies where you have constant shots of convoys and guy with uniforms taking their place in order to accomplish their missions. And personally, I don't like these movies, but that's just from a personal point of view. I just cannot get into them. I do recognize this as a movie with high quality. It is non-stop action, so it's even worse than Wolf Warrior 2 because the story is one sentence. It's Chinese saving Chinese in a foreign country, Chinese military saving Chinese in a foreign country. That's the whole story, and then just the whole 2.5 hours is that mission. It's brutal. It has good gore. For me, it was kind of a chore to watch because of the lack of story, and what Eric said was the point that actually that was the reason why I couldn't get into it, because it took an hour for me to distinguish everyone, to know who was who. And then sure, there are little moments here and there, and it does get better when you're in an hour, because after an hour you're kind of part of the family at that point, let's say. So you become desensitized and who you're with, so it gets better. But because I personally don't like these type of films, it was a chore for me to get through the first hour. But after that, I stayed for the gore. Let's say it was good gore. It was brutal as hell. It was. I missed the story, but it was a high quality movie. I'll give it that. And then I have to make a little comment on the patriotism. And in my opinion, is it patriotic? Because in all honesty, it's just a military movie made by Chinese. Like, what do you expect them to lose? I mean, of course it's going to be patriotic. It's the Chinese military. It's a Chinese movie about the Chinese military. But I must say one thing, and I don't know if that helps with the patriotism. Like the Wolf Warriors had all this high-tech stuff that make me think, yeah, but that's not patriotism because it's bullshit. But with this one, all their missions fail. Sure, the big mission works, but basically, just like Saving Private Ryan, which I think it has a lot of touch points with, they get fucked up, and everything they do kind of fails before it works. So every time they do something, it kind of like the tank sequence. You know, they take out one tank, and then immediately they get taken out. It's like nothing works. Everything goes wrong. Like they're losing people left and right. At the end, there are only 4 people, and they still go back into battle because they have to do one more thing. And then it becomes all of a sudden a more standard action movie, because then it becomes ridiculous of them one-on-one fighting bigger guys than them. But while it starts realistic, it kind of, you know, goes action movie later on. But I must say that that is interesting writing. And I noticed that in Wolf Warrior 2 that a lot of their strategies don't work, and that they get fucked up beyond like a lot. So I thought that was an interesting point of it. So that's my twofold. Personally, I don't like them, but I do recognize the quality, the budget, and the good points about it. It's just that the first hour for me is a real chore.
I'm going to take a little bit from Eric's column and a little bit from your column, Wilco. I love these types of action movies. No doubt about it. These are my bread and butter type action films. But I didn't like this film because it had no story. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me here, but I've seen it twice now. And if you asked me to summarize the movie, I can't tell you. I don't know where to start and how to end it. I think that I love Zhang Yi. I think he is a brilliant actor. I don't like him in this film. It just doesn't work for me that he is this super strong military leader on the battlefield. I like him better in the 800. I like him better in the Sacrifice, even though I hated the Sacrifice. I liked him in that. I don't like him in this film. I think Zhang Hongyu was completely wasted by having him sit in a control tower for the entire film, whereas in Mekong, he was active and out on the battlefield alongside the awesome Eddie Peng, whose the photos are coming up now. Wilco, the first movie, Mekong, doesn't have the issue of the second movie. You know, everyone's recognizable. You know whose everyone's role is in the film. You know what part they play. In this one, in Red Sea, I had to actually rewind the DVD towards the end, or the Blu-ray towards the end, because I actually thought the lady Li Tong was the one who was killed when her fingers fell off, and the next scene she's driving the Range Rover, and I'm sitting there going, "Hold on, that's too big of an F up for a movie like this." So I had to rewind it back and realize, no, it's just the other character that looks very similar to her, but male, and I was really starting to get out of it. I was getting gore fatigue. I don't need to see limbs getting blown off. I don't need to see the bus full of heads and the gore. I love horror movies. Don't like the gore in this. And again, it's the same reason I dislike The Sacrifice. Watching the guy body explode. I get it. War is not pretty, but the violence in this movie just didn't do it for me. Didn't. I'm sorry, guys.
But Mekong was before Red Sea?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
you made me watch the sequel, goddammit.
Well, I remembered them incorrectly. I actually thought Red Sea was the better of the two, but thinking back on it, I think Mekong has a much more structured story. Wouldn't you agree, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah. And it has a cool dog in it as well. I love the dog from Mekong, and I think the main bad guy in Mekong is also incontinent, if I remember correctly. Is he? Is the guy that's always on drugs?
Yeah.
I keep thinking he's incontinent. But Mekong has this awesome bit where they destroy a raised village in the middle of the jungle. That looks cool to me. That final fight in Mekong felt more structured to me than that second final fight in Red Sea, where they're trying to rescue Mei Ling, the Chinese hostage. And like you said, Wilco, they completely F it up every single time. Johnny Huang, I believe the only reason Johnny Huang was cast in this film was to get the teenage girl audience in, because he has no right to be in this film at all.
Which
Prove
one
me
is
wrong. He's the arrogant sniper.
Okay.
Yeah.
The new one. Yeah, okay. The sniper.
Yeah. Whereas I think Eddie Peng did that whole teenage girl thing in the first movie, but I can relate to. I think Eddie Peng's awesome. And of course the third movie, which probably should have been Operation Red Sea 2, which ended up being The Rescue, kept Eddie Peng there. There was clearly Dante Lamb was clearly wanting to use his budget to make another Red Sea. And now that I know what you both have told me, he just quickly shuffled that around and made another one of those heroic Chinese servicemen movies, which we saw with the Bravest, with the Captain, with SWAT, with now the Chinese doctors. That China has a habit of glorifying their emergency services, which is cool.
The Climbers too, right?
Oh, The Climbers. Wu Jing. There's another great example of a Wu Jing movie. When I say patriotism in this film, there's Chinese flags everywhere. And if I remember correctly, there's a bit where they're rescuing all the people and they're bringing them on board the freighter, and everyone's coming on board with a little Chinese flag. I'm like, where'd you get the Chinese flags from? Like, you're in the middle of whatever country you're on. Yeah.
We're giving them to everyone. Like, yeah.
But this is something I've never seen in an American movie. So correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but there's an emphasis in this film on the 12503 phone number, or the 12305 phone number. And there's a message at the end that says if you're a Chinese citizen and if you're ever in trouble, call this number and a wolf warrior will appear out of nowhere and rescue you. Yeah. So when I say patriotism or propaganda type films, that's what I'm referring to. It was a 2.5 hour long advertisement for the Army of the Navy and this phone number.
Fair enough.
My whole rant just gets a fair enough.
Yeah.
No. Your rant is I'm talking about the last point. I'm thinking, should we call that number? Like,
oh boy, I'm not. You guys can try.
I'll get Karen to try it out.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting that Simon Yam is in Red Sea.
Yeah, I forgot he was in it. He was only in a very short spot.
But he gets to speak Cantonese. And I turned to my wife and said, wow, that's unusual. They're allowing him to speak Cantonese in this film. So then you realize that, Dante Lamb's a Hong Kong director. The movie was edited in Hong Kong. The special effects were done in Hong Kong. Half of the producers, other than the PLA, were Hong Kong production houses. Emperor Motion Pictures was behind this. So for all intents and purposes, it's a co-production, this film. I can't see Hong Kong audiences going there and going, this is great. Yeah. They're going to sit there going, holy shit, these guys are going to invade us one day. Prophetic. And we've got no way to save us.
They think Hong Kong's going to look like that one day.
Well, no, I don't think it will. But what does this movie remind you both of? Is there any other movies that you're reminded of when watching it?
Oh, the only two that I thought of immediately was Black Hawk Down and Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
But, besides that, I don't know.
Maybe Black Hawk Down. I only saw pieces of that movie, the one where they're in the desert.
Yeah,
kind of a rescue type thing, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't seen Black Hawk Down, but I have seen I love Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
and it was right at the end of the film where they had rescued Mei Ling, and she's sitting in the thing. And I thought, oh my God, this is Saving Private Ryan China version. They've just spent almost 3 hours, lost so many people to save one person. The only difference is in Saving Private Ryan, he kind of didn't want to be rescued. He wanted to still fight, whereas she's just, get me the hell out of here. That's the only real difference. But yeah, there is some strong similarities between those two films. But Saving Private Ryan is the far better film.
The point that I thought it was Saving Private Ryan was the point that you have that one scene in Saving Private Ryan. Remember that this German is killing this other soldier, like very slowly, but putting the knife down. Well, I thought that the sniper, not the sniper, but the other guy that had a similar type scene where he had to very, very close combat be with one of the bad guys, where he also basically gets stabbed, although not as graphic as the Saving Private Ryan. But that scene reminded me a lot about Saving Private Ryan. That was my link to that movie. Those type of scenes, and of course the brutality of war. But because Saving Private Ryan for us was one of the first movies who showed that. All the other movies before that were glorifying the war, like Nam and stuff like that. And but was it Hamburger Hill?
Is Dante Lamb the big time blockbuster director? Is that just what he's going to be forever remembered as now?
Probably.
The Chinese Michael Bay, maybe. I don't know.
I think his earlier films have so much quality to them, though. I don't think he could ever really degenerate. Well, who knows? Maybe he might degenerate to the point, but yeah, his earlier films are really good. He did a lot of good thrillers.
Yeah. Now, Eric, you've seen The Rescue, right?
Yeah.
Wilco, have you seen The Rescue?
No, I didn't. I think
I think Eric, you and I had the same issues with The Rescue. Is that I believe there was too much emphasis on his private life.
Oh my goodness, it was terrible. Every scene with the kid.
Yeah, the kid. Yeah.
Oh.
And
I like it.
I also, what I don't like is Carlos Chan is forever always an idiot in these kind of movies, and he essentially reprises the same role in Raging Fire. Raging Fire. He reprises the same role in it, where he's just this idiot commander doesn't want to listen to anyone. In The Rescue, he's just this idiot newbie that doesn't want to listen to anyone. He's a much better actor than what he's getting credit for. But I want to. We've spoken about the violence in Operation Red Sea. And about a year ago, I was doing some research about Asian movie classifications and the different classification levels in each country. And when I got to China, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was, that there was no age rating limit. Movies are approved or rejected. And I remember reading about Operation Red Sea was one of the first movies that parents were actually starting to complain about the excessive levels of violence and saying that this has been approved for all ages, but I can't allow my child to watch a film like this. And China has tried to introduce ratings 3 times from my research. The first time was in the 80s. And I believe a cinema in Guangzhou decided to jump the gun and start putting age ratings on films. And then they got summarily fined for misleading advertising. The second time it fell through, and the third time was proposed in that magical year of 2015, which we all know is a big review, and apparently is still yet to be tabled. And I believe the trailer for Wolverine, when that was released in China, came with a warning that they were not selling tickets to anyone under 8 years old. And
under 8?
Yep. I know. Well, to be fair, they cut about 20 minutes out of the Wolverine, so they trimmed it down a fair bit. But this movie definitely has that emphasis of, why would you take a young child into the cinema to watch this movie? Is this some kind of desensitization from the government? And I know I'm getting into very conspiratorial, and I apologize. Yeah, but is this some kind of effort to desensitize a younger audience?
I think they thought it was honest, and that therefore everyone should be able to see it. I don't know. It's a possibility. I won't throw that up idea away.
Call me crazy, Eric. Come on, call me crazy.
Come on, say no, Eric. Say you're a lunatic.
Desensitization. I don't know. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I mean, you never know. The people behind the scenes here seem to like change their minds and make illogical decisions. So maybe there was some type of motivation for this particular film, but I can't really say that I necessarily noticed it. But now that you bring it up, it could be a possibility.
I think it's actually the opposite. I think it's more showing that this is what the Americans can do to us. So
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. That seems more plausible. This is horrible. This is war, and then they go on the media and say America wants to have war with us, and then everybody's like, they want to Red Sea us.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I did love some of the technology in this film. I like those drones that explode, the little ones. I thought they were kind of cool, but they seem to have no range. He just seemed to let it fly for 4 seconds and then boom, let it blow up. I also want to call bullshit on the sandstorm. That seemed to be the quickest sandstorm in existence.
Well, you know, the movie needed it. Because they were really losing hard. It's like, how can we get out of it? The writers were like, how can we get out of the situation? They are losing. Yeah. Sandstorm. Good idea.
Still more realistic than the one in Fury Road, though.
Hey, come on, Mad Max. Come on. I did like that they resisted the urge to do the Chinese people look all the same gag by actually having one of the captors realize that the women had swapped spots. And he clued on pretty quick and goes, hold on, who are you? That was quite a nice touch.
Well, they fooled me, though. And you. Because you had to rewind.
Yeah, but I got fooled because they were wearing the same costume and they had the same hairstyle. And I'm like, I don't... Quite
good save. That's why I also didn't see it. That's yeah. No. I noticed it. I just didn't know where the swap was. I only noticed it when she was revealed, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, that's someone else." But it's totally understandable because they do look a lot alike because they have the same hair length and they swap the clothes, obviously. But it was confusing that point. Yes, definitely.
And one more thing before we move on. And this is a bit more of a personal, I found a bit funny with the film, was about journalistic freedoms and allowing a journalist to publish and report on whatever they want. And that was the main lady's character, where she had made this big speech about moving to this smaller newspaper because she was going to be allowed the freedom to publish whatever she wants. And I sat there and thought, China, come on. Yeah.
It would be good if then China would say, no, you should work for a big Chinese company because you have all the freedom.
Yeah.
That would be good propaganda.
Well,
the last thing I want to say about Operation Red Sea is the first thing I noticed when the movie started, and I was like, is that the uniform in China? Because those Marine uniforms were all pixelated.
Yeah.
Is that their camouflage? Like, where do they try to, mix in with the Matrix? What is the
pixelated costumes are designed for digital lenses. So because they emphasize, well, this is what I believe digital camouflage is used for. It's that if you've got a drone or a spy from thousands of meters away, not thousands of kilometers, but thousands of meters away, it's probably not going to have the resolution to make out things very clearly. So if your camouflage is pixelated, you kind of blend into the resolution of what the camera is doing, making it hard to spot you. That's what I believe is the purpose of digital camouflage.
Expect a serious answer to that.
Oh shit! Sorry, I didn't realize you're making fun of me.
No, I wasn't making. No. It was more a joke. Like, oh, look at those pixelated uniforms. But I didn't know there was an actual, thought about logical, explanation for that. And I was like, wow, really?
It's like, sorry, Eric, I know you haven't been to China, but I know Wilco has. It's like when you're walking down the street and you see all those propaganda posters, and then you walk up close to them and you realize that they're pixels this big and they're really low quality printouts. Anyway, so overall, like we did with Wolf Warrior, we'll give Operation Red Sea a out of 5 rating. We'll start with you, Eric. What would you like to give it?
I would give both of them a 4 out of 5. I like them both a lot.
Yep. Okay. Wilco?
I cannot say anything about the Mekong movie because I haven't seen that one. But Operation Red Sea, in comparison also with the Wolf Warrior, I would want to give it a 3 for quality, but I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. So Red Sea, I'll probably give a 2. Just my general vibe with it, but Mekong would get a 4. I agree with Eric on Mekong. It is a lot of fun. All right, so that becomes the serious discussion of our portion of tonight's episode done. Now we go into a bit of fun. I have a trailer for the three of us to watch. Now, hopefully it brings back some very good memories for the three of us. Eric and Wilco, I'm not sure if you know of a documentary that has just been released called Kung Fu Stuntmen.
I don't think so.
So it's a documentary where it's they've got Sammo Hung, they've got Jackie Chan, all the Donnie Yen, all of the kind of Hong Kong action heroes that you can think of from the last 40 years. They're interviewing them. They've got excerpts of their movies. They essentially talk about what makes a Kung Fu stuntman the best stuntman in the world. Anyway, this second trailer dropped a couple of days ago, and I love the visual style of it. So I wanted to show you both. And I wanted to get your reaction about what you think of it, and let's just have a chat. So let's have a look.
All right.
My apologies for having the Mandarin version of that trailer rather than the Cantonese one. But I love that trailer because of how they have crafted it and edited it together. This comic book that each stunt just blends into the next stunt, blends into the next one. What do you both think? I'll start with you, Eric. What do you think?
That was neat. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't know if I've ever really seen a trailer quite like that before for a documentary. But I've always really respected just the punishment that the stuntmen take for our entertainment. And anytime I see someone just take a nasty fall or get a really nasty kick to the head, I kind of thank them under my breath. So, yeah, it's nice to see them honoring these people.
As a filmmaker, Wilco, as a director, producer, man, being there on the scenes of this, what do you reckon?
Well, obviously, the stuntmen, is a respected craft to start with. I personally do not have a movie yet where I needed like stuntmen, or let's say didn't have the budget yet to hire one. So I always just put my actors in danger. So yeah, for that reason, stuntmen are awesome if you can afford them. No. The thing is, the trailer looked interesting. I have no idea what this documentary is about. Is it about stuntmen themselves? Because it is kind of the craft of the faceless person, because they always play the part of someone else. They always except for Jackie Chan, who does everything himself, so he's like a special case. He's like an actor and the stuntman, but normally stuntmen always replace the main actor. Like the first time when you introduced this trailer, I was thinking, oh, is Moon Lee's going to be in it? But I thought it was also going to be about martial artists because you mentioned Jackie Chan, but this is really only focused on the stuntman. And because Moon Lee wasn't a stunt woman, but more like a martial artist, a dancer, and an actor. Therefore, she probably, when she would make a crazy fall like you see in the trailer, she will probably have a stunt woman for that, or a stunt man with a wig, which happens a lot as well. So yeah, it looks interesting. Well, what is it about? Is this interviews or how does this?
I believe it's just a 2-camera documentary with interviews. So, Sammo Hung talks about the history of how him and Jackie would work together and how they would set up their stunts and show clips. Did anyone recognize any scenes from their favorite films in there?
No.
Oh, Project A. That was the one where he falls. The last one where he falls through the canopies was Project A.
Yeah, I think it starts off with Police Story in the shopping center where he grabs onto the lights and makes his way down. I mean, I know there's a little bit of hype around this particular documentary in certain Asian action movie forums, and they're really looking forward to it. And for some of us, I think we're looking at the fact that this documentary might mark the end of an era that all of us love, which is the Hong Kong film and the Hong Kong action film. I don't think we'll ever see an era like that ever again, which is really sad. We're losing our heroes. We're losing Hong Kong's losing their voice. They're not being able to make movies like this. So I think this movie is kind of like that. Full stop. Thanks for watching, everyone. These are the guys that you remember. I mean, look at what Sammo looks like now. He's massive. He's old. I think it could be an entertaining documentary. And I hope that it just brings back all those memories that I love as a teenager, sitting down on a Saturday night, turning on the TV, there's a channel here in Australia, Eric, called SBS that used to shows foreign movies, turning it on and discovering a Jackie Chan movie for the first time. That's the memories that I want to get back. So, Wilco, you probably have stories in the Holland picking up DVDs or videos from the video store.
VHSs, even more back. VHSs, like I said a few episodes back, I grew up in the video store, and what we had was American movies, Italian movies, and Hong Kong movies. Those are basically the three main territories. So all the rip-off movies from Italy, that's where I grew up with all that stuff, and all the giallos and the Argento movies. And then, of course, all the Hong Kong movies. And mostly my interest went to Girls with Guns. So I was, I like those type of films, like the Killer Angels movies and stuff. And all those Angel movies. Yeah.
Have you checked out Eric's channel yet, Wilco? You'll see some of those reviews on there.
Yeah, they're great. I grew up mostly with that, and of course with the early Jackie Chan movies. And now we're talking about it. One of my favorite Hong Kong movies is Mad Mission, or also known Aces Go Places.
Yeah,
that is a great.
The box set. There's the Aces Go Places box set.
Now I recognize it. Yeah. I can see it.
See if I can put Eric on full screen.
Yep, there it is. The box set.
Oh yeah,
right there. I love those movies. The first one was one that I really saw as a kid and is the most nostalgic for me. But recently I saw all 5 of them. So that was something that I had to do. I had to, catch up on that, only 30, 40 years later. I just had to catch up on them. So those, definitely. That's an end of an era. But we can, we should somehow be able to bring that back. I mean, we have the enthusiast and we have the Arty, and then we have me. We should bring that shit back. We should bring it in, in attention, and then maybe at one point go to Hong Kong and let's make one.
Oh, I love that idea. Eric, how about you? How were you introduced to Hong Kong films?
I was late. I mean, when I was younger, they'd have the occasional kung fu flick. I was introduced to Chow Yun-fat when Replacement Killers came out. I was introduced to Jet Li when Lethal Weapon 4 came out. So I was late. I think I got on Jackie Chan when Rumble in the Bronx came out. So I didn't have access to their stuff until it came to America. But after that, I got into them. And then the deep dive came when I started getting into the Girls with Guns movies. That's what really gave me the kind of like the motivation to see everything that's Hong Kong action, because I never even remotely seen anything like that before. Like, I used to watch Cynthia Rothrock's American films when I was younger. And then I'm like, wait, her and Richard Norton were in Hong Kong movies? And I watched those and my mind just exploded. I'm like, these are unbelievable. So yeah, I was late to the party, but then I tried to catch up as fast as I could.
What's your favorite Jackie Chan film?
Probably Drunken Master 2.
Interesting choice. Wilco?
Well, I'm not a big Jackie Chan fan, to be honest, because I saw so many when I was young. I wouldn't even know what the titles of those movies are. I saw also a lot of Hong Kong movies. I still, to the day, when I was a kid, I saw them on VHS, and I have no idea what they're called. So there's this channel on YouTube, which is like the Wu-Tang channel or something that has like, or the Shaolin channel. I'm not really sure what the title of it is, but they have a lot of those old school movies. And I met this guy, he's collecting them and putting them all on YouTube. He actually buys a license and then just gives it away for free on YouTube just to keep that alive. And there's a lot of those movies that I don't know the title from back in the day. If you ask me now, I would say Rush Hour, and you guys will all just kick me out immediately. But because I do think that's a great movie on its own. But my favorite Jackie Chan movie, I think it's okay. I will say the scene, and then you have to tell me the title. Jackie Chan is kind of a comedy. It's an older movie, and then he at one point is he has this. I think he is mimicking Bruce Lee because he has nunchucks, and at one point he is in a situation that he has to hide because all these gangsters come, and then
I think I know which one this is.
And he uses the nunchucks as chopsticks, and he starts eating the noodles with the nunchucks.
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
I don't know.
Whoa, maybe like, someone in the chat.
That's like a joke in that movie when he's trying to blend in.
I do remember that scene, but I forgot the movie.
While Eric's looking it up, I just want to say City Hunter is mine.
When I grew up, then I have to name that one.
Fair enough. You're right. We would have kicked you out with nothing against Rush Hour. It's absolutely nothing against it. And as someone who lives in Melbourne, when Mr. Nice Guy came out, because that was filmed here in Melbourne, I remember being excited that there was a big movie that was shot in my city. And I don't know if you feel the same, Eric, when there's a movie in your city, but you start to pick out all the geographical mistakes that are made. Like how they run from one suburb to another that doesn't make any geographical sense, how they go down the same escalator, and you know where that place is, and there's only one escalator there, so how can you keep going down it?
I had that with Snake Eyes, what I told you in the beginning of this episode, that it was there's a montage that they're driving through Tokyo. Well, if you would do that on a map, they would be driving in a pentagram. Like where are you guys going?
We're summoning the devil. If you're drawing a pentagram, you're definitely summoning the devil.
Yeah, what are you...
Any luck finding it, Eric?
I found one here that says possibly Police Story 4.
Well, that would be a newish
it's a very old one. It's a very old movie. I know it was outside. It was that scene was outside, and it was a comedy. It was clearly a comedy.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was definitely from the 70s or beginning of the 80s, I think. But I'm sorry. I just some of these titles I have no idea. Recently, I found some old movies that I liked back in the day, and but then I forget the title again because it's not your everyday movie, let's say, because they're from the 70s, and then I have to find them on sometimes even just YouTube, but. There's this label in Holland we had back in the day, VHS label, and I know that the movies were on that label. So if I look for that label, and there's a whole database online, I have to click through all those Shaolin movies to find the one that I used to see. And then I only have the English, not the Dutch title, and then I have to find the English title, and then I have to find the Hong Kongese title, the original title. So it's always like a whole chain of research I have to do to see which movie it was again back in the day.
Yeah,
I'll have to do it again actually because I would like to see that movie now. Now we're talking about it.
We had one more segment, but I think I might skip it because we are running ridiculously over time. But we were going to have a quick chat about The Sacrifice and the 800, but I think I'm the only one who's seen both films. Wilco hasn't seen either of them, and I know Eric has seen the 800. So
I saw the trailer, and I must say that The Sacrifice looks damn good. It's a beautiful movie.
The trailer looks damn good.
Oh, no.
Apparently, what's the American film? Is it Dunkirk, where the same story is told 3 times in 3 different angles? Is it that film?
Oh, yeah. I think that's kind of...
Yeah, so that's the
kind
Sacrifice.
of a structure of that one, yeah.
So shot in 3 months from actual script writing to finished production. It was a 3-month period. They got 3 of the biggest directors they could find. So Frank Gore from the Wandering Earth, the guy who directed Assassin in Red was another one, and the other one whose name escapes me, but he's a very big director, was the third one. They each had one section of the film each, and it recycles the same footage throughout each section, and it's 2 and a bit hours long that ends with some of the worst CGI you've ever seen, and it didn't leave a good taste in my mouth. It was a waste of Wu-Jing, and it was a waste of Zhang as far as I'm concerned, but other people might disagree with me.
Great cinematography, though. I have to give it that.
Yeah. Again, you see all the good bits in the trailer. Wilco. Well, actually, before we go to Wilco, actually, let's. Do you want to tell us what we're doing next episode?
No, before that, to cap off everything for all these movies, and this I think is a nice comment in the chat from Rong Hao. Actually, it says that Chinese newest strategy is to export content to promote Chinese culture and China to the world. So I understand they want to be fun and nice instead of nationalistic and fight against foreigners. And I think that capped off our episode for today, to be like, now to as like a understanding, because she is Chinese, in like an understanding of why these movies no longer exist. So you say that the Hong Kong movies came to an end, but I think these patriotic movies just came to an end as well.
Well, the last 2 months in Chinese cinema, as American movies haven't been allowed in Chinese cinema the last 2 months, has been made up of some of the most terrible propaganda films you've ever seen. Movies about peasant farmers, movies about feeding the army, movies about a lone old man running an island. I've had a look at some of these trailers, which is why we haven't posted any trailers recently, because the output has been absolutely horrendous. And then something like Raging Fire came out and jumped to the top, and it's been at the top of the Chinese chart for 4 weeks now. I think a Zifeng Zhang movie has been second for all that time, and the recently released Chinese Doctors also charted well. But all these other patriotic films are not doing well in the box office. The stories that I've been reading are that each cinema, I think I told you guys this, each cinema has to show at least one screening a week of these films. So the box office numbers are inflated because the local party members are being forced to go to the cinema to watch the film. No, we laugh, but it's what's happening over there, and it's all part of the 100-year anniversary of the current ruling party. It seems like a very strange way to push your culture on the world, where Korea just went, hey, you know what? We'll make cute stuff. We'll make Gangnam Style. We'll make Parasite. We'll make all these other cool films and let the world fall in love with us. I think you can't force people to fall in love with you. They have to want to fall in love with you. And if that's what China's trying to do right now, I think they need to go back to the drawing board and maybe just relook at that strategy, because
they will have to do
just not working.
Warrior 3.
Damn straight.
Yeah, but I want to see it with Nicholas C.
Yeah. Stop saying that. I'm already disappointed we're not getting it.
I know, but if he was in it, he would be the best bad guy. Yeah. Wilco, what can we expect in 2 weeks' time?
In 2 weeks' time, next fortnight, we're going to look at Stephen Chow's King of Comedy and the new King of Comedy, and with another guest, which is Rong Hao, which is my CEO, which is my partner, which is a Chinese herself. So, and she's a big Stephen Chow fan, so she knows everything. She will rant maybe for hours, so we have to, at one point mute her because it will be. And then we can also, by the way, ask her about the patriotic thing when she's on, because then we can hear it from someone who's deeply connected in the culture herself. So, and then, but of course, we're going to keep it fun, because those 2 movies, we watched them a while ago, but we're going to rewatch them, of course, for the next 2 weeks. But they are very much movies that are very recognizable for people in the industry. So there's a lot of inside tidbits about the industry, film industry, that we can talk about in the production side, but also in the cultural side from China and Japan, actually. So yeah, could be fun.
I love the new king of comedy. I love Bao Shang Wang in it. He is so good. His later films, like Detective Chinatown 3, he really annoys me in. But in the new king of comedy, he is so funny. He really is funny.
They're great movies, and they're both great movies, and they're both quite similar and different at the same time. So, gonna be fun.
I want to say very big thank you, Eric, for joining us.
Yes.
I've had a blast.
Yes.
I hope you have too.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna say yes because you're live, but
thanks for having me.
I sincerely hope you did have a good time. Before we head off, can you just let everyone know how they can enjoy some of the work that you do?
Yeah, I'm the Asian movie enthusiast on YouTube. So just check out my channel. I review Asian movies, basically.
So you release a video probably every 3 a week?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I've been doing.
Beautiful. And they've been really good. Eric gives a really good detailed explanation of why he likes the films, the scenes that he likes. He relates them back to other films that mean something to him during the review. And you get a really good insight into the mind of a movie enthusiast. You really do. And I just want to say, Lam Sui, that mole, hairy mole, when you brought it up in that last review with him in it, all I could think of was in Dynasty Warriors, where you couldn't see it, and I was so happy. Wilco, how can people find out more about yourself and
before I go into that, I would like to address a comment from the chat from Bond, Michael Adam Bond. He wants to know what we think about Shanghai Fortress. Did we see it?
I've seen it, yes. Eric, have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
So Dan, what do you think?
Sorry, Michael, I don't like it. I like Shutzi. I think she's gorgeous. But Shanghai Fortress, I'm trying to remember a little bit of it. It's a sci-fi film. I think there was just something in it. I've got a review and I'd have to rewatch it. There's just something in it that didn't quite gel with me. So maybe I have to watch it again like Wolf Warrior. And fall in love with it. Look, at least he accepts it. He said understandable. So thank you. But maybe I'll watch it again and make a 5 awesome things video about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it never comes, then he still didn't like it. Well, for me, all the links are in the link tree, /Tokyo Bay Films, and find that link tree in the description below this video. And that's where you can find everything about us, about Tokyo Bay Films, some links about me, and of course also where you can find links to Tokyo Homestay Massacre, and soon also the Ouija Japan. And I would like to ask everyone to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, because October is coming up, and October is our big release month. So all new news will be on those socials. So if you want to keep in the loop, please subscribe. Links are in the description.
Well, I've been the Arty Dans. That's been Eric, the Asian movie enthusiast. That has been Wilco C Rullens. And this has been the Monday Night Asian Movie Talk Show. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bye-bye.